Brahaspati Jupiter into our video and into this space today to inspire us on this next video on Jyotish for Westerners. So now we're going to chant Om Guruve Namaha, 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 Om Guruve Namaha. We welcome you now to our next video, and we're going to be discussing a really interesting topic. My name is Nina Ashby, and this is
Ajose,
and we're talking about Marana, Karaka, Sthana. Well, that's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is.
So, what this means is Marana is the Sanskrit word for killer. And Karaka is the word for significator, and Sthana is about placement. So killer, significator placements in the chart, and this is about all charts across the board. And what they will tell us is where the planetary energy is almost completely blocked due to the placement of the planet in the chart. So let's also talk about why this is so important, because planets and your chart are all about energy and how you use that energy. And when it's not available to you, that's where the challenges in your life will occur, and that's where your growth and learning will occur. So even though it's difficult, it doesn't mean that it's something that's really, really bad, but it's something to work through. And the way that you work through it in Jyotish is through using mantra. Now, every planet has a mantra that's connected with it, a god or a goddess. And these remedies, by invoking the energy of the god and goddess, you bring in the higher potential of the planetary energy, and you can unblock the problem so that you have access to the full energy of that planet. So we don't want you to feel bad. We want you to feel good. And the way that this is going to happen is by you being able to look at these Marana Karaka Sthanas and see that it's an area that you can grow in your consciousness.
Definitely. These planets, based on where they're placed in the chart, can produce particular difficulties and challenges, but also remember that challenges make us grow. They make us evolve. They make us become who we are.
Now, we also don't want you to worry, because we're going to tell you that about the god or the goddess that is associated with this mantra, but they're all readily available. So let's begin, shall we?
Yes, let's start. So, first planet, the sun. We always have to start with the sun. So for the sun, if the sun is in the 12th house, this is a difficult place for the sun. The 12th house, well, the sun first and foremost represents one's center, the sense of individuality, one's purpose. It's very egocentric. Remember in the earlier videos we mentioned about the sun being the king. However, the 12th house is it's a house, it tends to diffuse. This is the house of Pisces, so it's connected with everything. It's sort of like being in the middle of the ocean, so it tends to diminish some of the sun's power and energy. So the sun doesn't really get to shine in this particular house. So this is a particular place where the sun can find it very, very challenging. So if you have your sun there, and again, just like Nina pointed out earlier on, it doesn't, again, we're just talking about one point of the chart here, so don't get too worried if you do have that. So the particular deity that is
Narayana, and then Narayana is an avatar of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu is the god of maintenance, maintainer of life force, and it's very stable. It's a stabilizing element. So if you were in the middle of the sea, if you're all at sea in the 12th house and hidden, by invoking Narayana or Vishnu, what happens is it allows the sun to rise and to shine outside of and be on stable ground rather than kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah, it empowers it. It empowers the sun, so it gives it enables the sun to be able to function at its full capacity.
Yes.
So perhaps maybe without these remedies, the sun perhaps will be functioning maybe at 60%, perhaps. But with the remedies, you can function at 90, 95, 99, 100% full capacity of what the sun wants. However, the natural karaka for the 12th house is Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars is included as well. So if you look at your chart, always try and find out to see whether there's aspects or any connection between where the sun is, if you do have the sun in the 12th house, and it's connected by aspect to Jupiter, Saturn, or Mars. Because if it is connected to any of those three planets will be able to support and give help to the sun, because they are the natural karakas for the 12th house.
However, the remedy reigns supreme. Great. Now we go on to the moon. So the moon is the Graha or planet or light, which is a reflected light, and it waxes and it wanes, and it's about our intelligence, our emotions, and it's also how we feel things very deeply. And its Marana Karaka Sthana is in the 8th house. So the 8th house represents life and death. It represents other people's resources. It's a place where it's like the well. It's the deep water. You know, it's hidden someplace down there in all that quite difficult emotional energy. So the moon does not fare very well in that place because it wants to express itself, but it can't. It's too restricted. And so what's interesting is that we call also upon Narayana or Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, to remedy this and give more stability to the lunar expression so that you can utilize that energy in your chart. So now we come to the planet Mars, and the Marana Karaka Sthana for Mars is the 7th house. And why? Because Mars is the planet of energy, vitality, assertion, aggression, and the 7th house is like, peace and love. It's about relationship and partnerships. It's a Venus-ruled house, and Mars and Venus, they have a very opposite approach to dealing with how they deal with energy and life. So Mars is not happy there. It wants to burst through, and Venus wants peace. So we call upon the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, the goddess of creativity, in order to help to smooth out this martial energy so it can be brought forward. You also want to look at the natural placement of Venus in the chart, because Venus rules the 7th house in the natal zodiac, and Venus could help Mars a little bit in this respect.
So do keep an eye on where if Mars is connected or in aspect to Venus, as Venus is the natural karaka for the 7th house, and she can aid, assist, and empower Mars.
Now we go over to Jupiter. So Jupiter is the guru, is the teacher, is the spiritual wisdom that one gets connected to within your own natal chart. And it's not really very happy in the 3rd house. Why? Because the 3rd house is naturally the house of Mercury and Mars, and it wants to like talk a lot, and it wants to act and do things, and Guru kind of wants to meditate and kind of go within, and the third house is about going out of oneself and learning, and so really it's not a happy place for the Guru to be. In fact, isn't that what they say, Israel, that people who have Jupiter in the third for their Marana Karaka Sthana is like they don't really walk their talk. Or they're these armchair philosophers. We use Rudra. Rudra is an aspect of Shiva, and Rudra makes the wheel go round. In first, the word Rudra is wheel. It helps to get out of the head and into more positive activity. That does definitely have structure to it. Yeah, now we're going on to the planet Mercury. So this is, Mercury is all about communication, and it's kind of that duality. You know, it's where Mercury is in your chart is where you learn, where you have interests, you know, how you absorb information. And the seventh house is the house of relationships. And Mercury doesn't really like it there because it wants to be free. It wants to have freedom. It wants to try this and try that. Well, we know that really doesn't necessarily work in partnerships very well. I mean, maybe in terms of business, but even then there's a busyness about it that is uncomfortable. And so what we would do is look to see if there are any aspects to the planet Venus, which helps to smooth things out for Mercury, and also to invoke Our Lady Lakshmi. So Lakshmi is about wealth and abundance and about that creative spark that can help to get over the mind busyness of Mercury and the business-like way, because Mercury in Jyotish is about business, isn't it?
Yes, he's very much connected to business. But because of the energies of Mercury, because of that to and froness, the seventh house is also connected with commitment, those who we are committed to. And because Mercury's energy is not, you know, he's not stable. He wants to go here and go there. Remember, he's the prince, so he's not very good at committing. And this is one of the reasons why this is the Marana Karaka for Mercury. So as Nina quite well said, do have a look to see if there is an aspect connection from your Venus to your Mercury, if you do have Mercury in the seventh house, because that can strengthen, that will empower, and it will aid. However, the remedy is the real thing that you really want to be getting into.
Friendship, love, balance, and creativity, artistic beauty. And it also is I think Venus is a strategist in a way. You know, she's always looking to like, how can I, thinking a couple of steps ahead, and how can I make this work? How can I do that? What's going to work for her? Venus in the sixth house is not very well placed. It's the Marana Karaka Sthana. And why? Because the sixth house is the place of the servant. And the employee. And Venus doesn't really like to be an employee. Venus likes to be in charge.
And Venus likes to enjoy. She likes pleasures. She likes the sweet things. She's connected with that aspect of us that values the sweet things in life, the enjoyments of life. When a planet that likes enjoyments and likes pleasures and excitement is stuck in a house that is for work, the two don't really mix. As they say, business and pleasure don't mix. So that's like Venus in the sixth house. Check to see whether she is connected with the natural characters of the sixth house. The natural characters of the sixth house is Mercury, Mars, and Saturn. So if you have an aspect or strong connection with your Venus in the sixth house to any of those three planets, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn, these three planets will help, they will aid, they will empower, they will support the position of Venus in the sixth house, as Venus does not fully like to be there. She doesn't really get to enjoy and to be pleasurable there.
The god that we invoke for Venus would be Narayana, Saturn. So Saturn's about work,
Shiny,
disciplines, structures, responsibilities, and heavy.
Yes.
Heavy, you know?
It can be
serious,
very heavy.
serious.
It's extremely serious. It's the most. So if you have Saturn in the first house, because again, this first house, it's the house of Aries. It's the Ascendant. It's the Lagna. It's ready to go out into the world. It wants to pursue things. It wants to go out and go on an adventure. So Saturn here finds it very, very difficult in the first house, their energy, because the first house is also how the world sees us and how we view the world and how we go out into the world. So planets like Mars, planets like the Sun really allow us to really go out into the world with enthusiasm, with adventure, with energy, with confidence. So Saturn there, who is the planet of delays, frustration, restriction, because of the first house, which is Mars and the Sun, to your Saturn. If you have Saturn in the first house, this will help, they will aid, they will influence, and they will support that Saturn in the first house.
And the god that you would do mantra for is Shiva. Shiva is the destroyer.
Yes.
So Shiva destroys the structures that of fear that prevent Saturn from being able to be expressed in a positive way. And Rahu is all about the hidden things.
Yes.
And it's a bit
He's the
maverick. We're talking about Rahu. Rahu is all about deceit. It's about going outside the bounds of convention. It's not about taking a straight, narrow course. And the 9th house is the house of the guru.
Yes.
It's the house of religion and spirituality and following a course of action that is pre-structured, and it's hard work.
Yes.
Whereas Rahu's not really interested in that. They're looking to cut corners and kind of shave off things.
Yeah.
So Rahu in the 9th house is a difficult placement for it. The natural significator of the 9th house, which is Jupiter, and Jupiter is the planet of the guru. And if it makes aspect to Rahu, well, it's positive. You can begin to positivize that energy. And guru. Okay, well, you do mantras to the guru. Ketu is the opposite of Rahu. And where Rahu wants to kind of slip and slide, in a way Ketu does too, because there's this impersonal or cool quality and universal quality that it's seeking. And it's not therefore very happy in the 4th house, because the 4th house is about home, it's about the mother, it's about the womb, it's about your emotional roots in this life. And Ketu doesn't want to be rooted. It wants to float out into the cosmic soup and become something else. So it's interesting that the moon is the natural ruler of the 4th house.
Yes.
And so we want to invoke the goddess Gauri, who is the lunar goddess of fertility and creativity and femininity, which is all about creating a firm foundation in the home. And this helps to focus the Ketu energy and bring it kind of back into some kind of more personal side of life.
Most definitely, because Ketu is always looking for the highest enlightenment, the highest moksha. So he doesn't really get to do that while he's in the 4th house. Because
find out what your chart is, and if you have any Marana Karaka Sthanas, well, all you need to do is write to us on the link below, and we at Circle of Divine Astrology can provide a chart for you for free. So come back, enjoy the rest of our videos, and we hope that you've enjoyed our little presentation.